within the so-called amongst Ham. It's all kind of Israelites amongst Ham. You know what I mean? Yeah, the scripture, brother.
It's, James chapter 1 verse 1. James is servant of the Most High and of the Lord Yahushai to the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad. Greetings.
That's right. That proves Israel scattered abroad, man. All throughout Europe. All throughout fucking Europe, man. Israelites. Okay, why? Because Israel, the tribes, mainly Judah, Benjamin, Levi, was ruling Europe for 1,000 years, man. After the fall of Rome. You know what I mean? So so-called Negroes, West Indians, and Haitians were ruling Europe. Scotland, Ireland. So a lot of the motherfucking Scots and Englishmen and from the Vikings, Norway, the Nordsmen, those were Israelites, those were Jakes. Okay, we know that for a fact. We got the documentations on that. See what I'm saying? So all the Israelites, so you had guys that are just narrow-minded and really wasn't spiritual. You had a lot of guys that just believed that back in, I'm talking about them guys from one west. Well, even though you had brothers teaching that back then that we ruled England or we ruled Europe for 1,000 years, the Dark Ages, but then they think when Israel just went down, every last single Negro, West Indian, Haitian just came on the slave ships. Every last single Israelite, they all came on the slave ships. Not every Israelite came on the slave ships.
That's true. That's true.
Okay, not every Israelite came on the slave ships. That's right. The Most High had certain lots for certain, you know. At some point or other, every Israelite dealt with some form of slavery. But not every Negro came on the slave ships, man. Some Jakes were still back. Well, we bring it out, man. When Jake was fucking in slavery in the cotton fields of America in the 1600s, 1700s, you still had Jake sitting on thrones in Europe. King George. That was in the 1700s, so-called Revolutionary War. You had Negroes that had already been over here in slavery for, at that point, 200 years already, right? Or 100 and some odd years already. And guess what? You still had a so-called black king ruling England. And his brothers was in slavery. And he had a part, Jake is wicked, man. Because King George had partner putting other Negroes in slavery, man. And the Elder Tazaiwan was bringing out some heavy points to me, things that I wasn't, like documents that he found going into the 17, 1800s. You had niggas, even here in America, not every Negro was a slave. You always had so-called certain Negroes were free and well-to-do. Certain well-to-do Negro despotant, for whatever you want to call it, desbian families. And guess what? They had slaves. I mean, straight up so-called Negroes had other Negroes in slavery as slaves. Niggas that were straight up trying to emulate the white man, just like Gad and Reuben and all of them. They had slaves. Their brothers so Israel put Israel in slavery. Yeah, we know. We dealt with niggas. Here in the so-called modern times, we dealt with so-called niggas back in the old school that actually had us in slavery. Yashawan, Lahab, and them, they had brothers and straight up, am I lying, brother?
No, but you're telling the truth, though.
I mean, brother, so I know Israel will put Israel in slavery. Go work for a nigga or a spick, and then go work for the white man. I'll tell you what, man, you're going to rather want to work for the white man. Esau, I mean, he's a devil, fuck Esau, but I'll tell you what, you know what, brother, I've worked for Edomites, I've worked for Jake, I'd much rather work for Esau. That's right. I'm telling you the truth. Because Esau kind of do you a little right, man.
He'll fucking pay you.
A fucking nigga. Yeah. You work for a fucking nigga, man? You know what I mean? The payday comes, yo, I ain't got, look, man, I ain't got your check this week, man. You know, because a nigga, number one, is gonna try to rip you off, and number two, you know, a nigga gonna try, he don't budget his money right. And the other them curses, but I ain't got your check. Oh, you gonna have to wait till next week, man, or wait till Wednesday. Maybe I'll get your. Then you ready to fuck him up, you know. You know what I mean? But Esau will have your fucking check for you. Esau will have your money for you, man. I won't say that about the devil. You know what I mean? Yeah, man. The white man will have your goddamn money and sometimes throw you a bonus. A nigga ain't throwing you no.
That's true, man.
You know what I'm saying? You have to be, you know what I'm saying, man? Yeah, and they're going to get all over us now. Yeah, man, if you're going to get a job, work for the white man.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's like, man, I'm trying. That's one to grow on for the night. Oh, they're going to get all over us. See, I see them GMS cats. See, they prove them niggas are hypocrites, man. They They're gonna do a whole
10-part series.
10-part series on us now on that. See, that proves these GMS niggas a hypocrite. See, first of all, that nigga Ricard, that nigga, he said the elder Ricard, he said, see, niggas is condemning Israel. Fuck them niggas. I'm sorry, man. You got it, brother. Go ahead, man.
Yeah, I'm finish this, right? It's Baruch 1 verse 15. And ye shall say, to the Lord our power belongeth righteousness, but unto us confusion of faces, as it is come to pass this day unto them of Judah and to the inhabitants of Jerusalem.
Oh, Judah and the rest of Israel. Go ahead, break it down, brother.
Yeah. So, hey, all our people not gonna exactly look like straight up Jake that you see out there like in Harlem or in the ghettos and so forth. You know, with the afros, all right, dark skin and so forth. Some of our people gonna look like other nations, like the scripture that the brother was reading before, that the spirit bear witness with our spirit. All right, that's how we're able to recognize. That's really how we're able to recognize who's an Israelite and who's of another nation through the spirit, man. All right. I mean, of course, you gotta physically be an Israelite, but the only way you can be a spiritual Israelite, you gotta be a physical Israelite. All right. But on the outside, you might not look like your typical Israelite. All right, or your typical so-called Negro, West Indian, or Puerto Rican. All right, and that's all through this whole thing is really a spiritual thing, because the so-called white man in the other nations, these other heathen nations, they don't have that spirit that Jake got. All right, they don't have that spirit. You got something? Oh, all right, that was it on that?
No, it's a little bit more.
I got something.
Oh, okay.
This is Revelation 7 and 9. After this I beheld, and lo, a great multitude, which no man could number.
Yep, and that's talking about Israel. It's talking about Israel because when you read up, all right, it broke down the 12 different tribes of 144,000 Israelites that got saved out of America, all right, and then it was another multitude, all right, that couldn't be numbered, which the elders reading right now.
Of all nations and kindreds.
Yep, of all nations and kindreds. Now that's not talking about the heathen nations. That's talking about Israel.
See, and that's where all these bozos go off, man. The Christians and all these so-called Christian churches, Jehovah Witness, Baptist, whatever they are. That's where they go off because the scriptures ain't given to them to break down. That's this. See, that proves that God gonna save everybody. You know what I mean? Go ahead, brother.
Okay.
It says, of all nations and kindreds and people.
Yep, because Israel was scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, and every nation that's out there. All right, you got Jake all over the place, man. You got Israelites in China, you got Israelites in Europe, in Germany, you got Israelites even down there in Africa. All right, you got Israelites even in Japan. Japan is getting all washed up today, but you still got Israelites out there. All right, so our people were scattered throughout the whole entire world, man. All right, can somebody get Acts the 2nd chapter?
I got a quick precept for you.
Also, yeah.
This
Is
is
you done on that?
Yeah, just one more.
Okay.
And tongues. Speaking
Yeah,
of the language.
tongues. Yeah, because Jake speak all different kind of languages.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you got Jake to speak Portuguese, speak French. All right, Arabic. And you got niggas as Muslims that speak fluent Arabic, man, with these Habibis in the store, man.
Yeah.
All right, but you got Jake to speak all different kinds of languages because they've been scattered throughout all different nations. All right, hey, when the Lord died on the cross, they had to put they had to put the superscription up in Hebrew, Greek, and Latin, man, because they knew Jake spoke all those different languages.
That's right.
Hey, well, Paul. Remember, Paul was a Roman citizen, and Paul spoke Greek and Latin. And you had Jake's Israelites that was living up in Rome. What do you think the fucking? Salakia doesn't say fucking, but what do you think the book of Romans was written to? The Israelites that was up in Rome. Okay, Paul went up to them guys to open that church, and you better believe a lot of them couldn't even speak Hebrew because they were just straight up with Timothy. I mean, he's a Greek. Timothy was considered. I mean, some of them could probably speak because remember at that time, Israel was right there. You had Israelites living in Rome, so a lot of them probably could speak both. Maybe Hebrew. Maybe the basic Israelite could probably speak Hebrew and Latin. But then I'm pretty damn sure you had a lot of Israelites that couldn't even probably speak the Hebrew. Because they were just so raised up in that Roman Greek that their family